I win on your turn. You heard me correctly. Using the card Reset from Legends alongside High Tide, we're making tons of mana and brain freezing you. Let's go check it out. How does this deck function? Well, it is a Storm deck, so it's pretty complicated, but the basic idea is that we leverage the card High Tide. Okay, so whenever an island is tapped for mana, it produces an additional blue mana. You then play cards like Reset from Legends that after your opponent's upkeep, or really their draw step, you kind of have to let them draw a card. You can untap your lands for 2 blue mana. You also have Turnabout to untap your lands as well. So you have 7 main deck effects that untap your islands with High Tide. From there, you play draw spells like Meditate, Brainstorm, Consider, and Opt to, create a storm count, keep the engine going, that sort of thing. You also have Dress Down and Impulse. Impulse is really there to find your High Tide. Dress Down to stop things like Archon of Emeria or Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, that sort of thing. So you then play Mission Briefing, which is like an instant speed Snapcaster Mage, but you also get to Surveil too, so you get to dig for action spells or clear your brainstorms of additional lands, and then flashback something like Meditate or Cunning Wish, whatever you've got to do. And one difference that I'm playing today is I'm actually going down to 16 lands, and instead I'm playing 4 copies of main deck Opt. 18 is pretty stock, but the last few times I've played this variation of the High Tide combo deck, I've ended up flooding out on lands a number of times. So today I'm playing additional cantrips instead and seeing how that goes. That is my short and sweet deck tech. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you have any suggestions, let me know as well. But we're going to hop on into the first match. Hopefully I'll see you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Alright, so we're in the first match. I have one quick thing I wanted to add. I meant to mention this in the deck tech, and well, I just forgot. How this deck wins! So we are a Cunning Wish strategy. So you have the card Brain Freeze in your sideboard, mills your opponent for 3, Storm, or you even have, wherever it is, Blue Sun Zenith. So you can also deck your opponent that way. So if your opponent's playing an Eldrazi, you Brain Freeze them, Cunning Wish again for Blue Sun Zenith, and then deck them that way. So that is what we're doing. That is how we win. We're on the play in the first match. Let's get going. So this hand is great. We just need to find a couple more lands, so we will keep. So the cards that I cut for the Opt, I cut 2 more lands. So we went from 18 lands down to 16, and then 2 copies of Force of Negation. My notes from the last video that I recorded this in said that Force of Negation was kind of an underperformer, and I think that's still sort of true. But one thing that's changed in the metagame is there's a lot more stompy style decks. So Chalice of the Void decks, and you might be thinking, well, Force of Negation is good against Chalice of the Void, and I would agree with you. But those decks now have a high density of creatures, like the Initiative, or even Moon Stompy has a lot more creatures than it has in the past. So I think Force of Negation's value has gone down just a little bit. Alright, our opponent's taken a mulligan to 5 and is ready to begin the match. We're just going to play our basic island and pass the turn. They play a Marsh Flats. This looks like it might be Reanimator, and it is. They unmask. We will allow this to resolve. They exiled a Shallow Grave. The pick here is probably High Tide, and they do in fact take my High Tide. Dark Ritual. Is this a Grief? It might be a Grief. It is. It's a turn 1 hardcast Grief. We will allow this to resolve. They'll probably take a 1 mana cantrip if I had to guess. Or at least that's what they should do, but we'll see what they do here. Alternatively, you could take the Meditate, but I think it's probably just one of these cantrips. And they go after the Meditate. Good deal. We will play Opt. That can go on the bottom. We draw another Turnabout. Okay, so still looking for land number 2 at the moment. We draw Force of Will. Let's play a Consider. That Meditate unfortunately has to go to the graveyard here. We did find a land. We'll play it and pass. You don't really want to mill Meditates, because Meditate is how this deck, it's the engine of the deck essentially. So this Surveil off of Consider hurt us quite a bit. The good thing is we have some time. Grief isn't a particularly fast card. And we do have a Mystic Sanctuary in our deck that I can search out with the Flooded Strand, but I would have to draw one more land to make that happen. The attack for 3 will go to 14. And there we go. So I'm going to... So another thing you could do is Mystic Sanctuary and get back High Tide. I think that the stage of the game we're in, getting back a Meditate would be a lot more useful to us. Okay, so I'm going to go to 11. And now we'll go down to 10 life. We'll grab the Mystic Sanctuary. This triggers. We will put Meditate back on top of our deck. And I'm actually going to main phase the Meditate, because if I draw a number of lands, I want to be able to play them. So now we'll opt. I'm going to keep the land. Otherwise, you'd have to discard, and that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And now, on our next turn, we should be ready to win the game. So our opponent's going to get 2 turns here, because Meditate has a clause that you have to skip your turn, so they get 2 attack steps here. Okay, so now it's going to go back to their turn. And then after this turn, it will be our turn. They swing. We're at 4. Okay, we will fetch. Grab that basic island. We're at 3, so now we have to win because the grief would be lethal. We'll keep a Cunning Wish. A land would probably be our best draw here. We draw Force of Will. So on our next, on their turn, we can tap 2 lands, Mission Briefing, and then reset. So we'll just move to cleanup here and discard a copy of Force of Will. Sure, you can cast Entomb, I don't care about that. Archon of Cruelty goes to the graveyard. So we'll discard that Force of Will. Once again, reset says after your opponent's upkeep, so they go to their draw step. We can allow them to be in their first main phase. We're going to respond to Dark Ritual here. We will cast a Mission Briefing. We can put Consider on or to the graveyard, and we'll keep Impulse on top. That seems like a card I definitely want here. And then High Tide gains Flashback. And then we will High Tide. And let's reset. Untaps all of our lands. Tap this Mystic Sanctuary, and let's Meditate. Storm is 5. Play an Opt. We don't need a land that can go on the bottom of our deck, but unfortunately we drew another. We will Impulse. Take another High Tide, and then we will cast that High Tide, and let's opt again. We'll keep the Brainstorm, add some more mana, we'll play a Reset, and then let's Cunning Wish. Yes, and I will grab a Blue Sun Zenith, and now we're going to add a bunch more mana to our mana pool. Turnabout targeting me. We'll untap our lands, and then we'll add a bunch more mana to our mana pool. I'm going to Blue Sun Zenith for a bunch of cards here. We'll leave 6 mana floating, so I'll draw 18 cards. I will then reset. We have 13 cards left in our deck. Play another High Tide because I can. We will Cunning Wish. Grab the Brain Freeze. And now we will Brain Freeze our opponent for their entire deck. And then we have to make them draw a card because I'm still actually dead to the grief. So I need to find that Blue Sun Zenith that is still within our library and then cast that. Our opponent has a Sire of Insanity in their deck. Okay. You don't see that too often these days. Okay, so now we just have to find that Blue Sun Zenith. I will cast an Impulse. We will grab another copy of Impulse. Cast the Impulse again. From 19. There's the Blue Sun Zenith. And now we will Blue Sun Zenith targeting our opponent. And this will end the game. Nice Dark Ritual. And that was game number 1. Let's see if we can get a post-board game now. Definitely interested in our copies of Surgical Extraction. You could board in additional copies of Dress Down, but I don't know if that's really what I want to be doing here, because we already have to figure out what we're cutting for these copies of Surgical Extraction. And I think, like, Dress Down is a little slow in this matchup, so I think that's actually a card that probably should be sided out. And then maybe your 4th copy of Opt. You could also think about siding in Flusterstorm here. I don't know how good that really is, though. Maybe I'll try it over the Ops. Makes finding our lands more difficult, but it does make the game go longer, which is what we're looking to do. It also stops things like Unmask or Thoughtseize. Sure, I will keep. Having a free interaction spell is what we're looking to do. Our opponent has kept 7. They just passed. Okay. Good deal. Mission briefing. We'll play our Misty Rainforest and send it back. I also don't feel as bad about boarding out Opt when I draw 3 lands. Like, that's the exact number of lands we're looking for here. They play a Lotus Petal, Basic Swamp. So I think they accidentally skipped their first turn. Faithless Looting, Shieldred, and Atraxa. Reanimate on Shieldred. Well, I'm going to Surgical that. And they don't have any more in their deck. They do have a Reanimate in their hand, so they can come back next turn. Sure. Reanimate fizzles. Let's go search out an island now. I'd rather thin my deck and reduce my odds of drawing more lands. The nice thing about our opponent accidentally skipping their turn here is I get the mission briefing back to Surgical Extraction. They drew a land, so that means they can Thoughtseize into Reanimate now. Okay. Oh no, they had the land. My apologies, I was wrong. Happens a lot here on this channel. Alright, so we know that they have Entomb, Reanimate, plus 1 unknown card in their hand. And now they're attempting to reanimate the Atraxa. We will flash back this Surgical Extraction with our mission briefing. A question I received on one of the previous videos was like, why not run Leyline of the Void? You're a mission briefing deck. So that is why we're running Surgical Extraction. I'm going to keep both of these on top. Target the Surgical. And now we will Surgical Extraction on Atraxa. Their last card in hand was Unmask. So they could have forced through the Reanimate this turn, but they chose not to. Okay. Entomb, Unmask in hand. Play the Scalding Tarn, and we will pass the turn. On their end step, I'm going to Impulse. I'm going to take the other Meditate. We draw a High Tide. I'm going to pass the turn. You could Meditate in your main phase here looking for another land, but I don't want them to know that they have 2 turns in a row quite yet. They Entomb for Sire of Insanity. That's scary, because now if they draw a Reanimate spell, I lose the game. They have Unmask plus 2 unknown cards. Lotus Petal, and a flashback of Faithless Looting. Bristlebrand, and a land. Alright, this is going to be my spot to meditate. Or I could just mission briefing. Maybe that's the safer play. I could also Cunning Wish. Actually, I think it's Cunning Wish for Turnabout. Because now we can try to win in response. Yeah, okay. Let's go. Let's do it. Grief, exiling, Unmask. It's time to party. Who needs more than 3 lands? Not me. Turnabout targeting myself. Land. Untap. Cast Meditate. Cast Meditate. We will reset. Cast another Meditate. Okay, so I'm going to Brainstorm, I guess. We'll put 2 lands on top. And then I will mission briefing. We'll get rid of both these lands. Our storm count is currently 10. And our opponent has conceded the match. Take that, Reanimator. Alright, Solidarity is 1-0 in this Legacy League. Stick around, and hopefully we get to do some crazy stuff in the second match. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Match number 2, we're facing a Doomsday Expert. And while we have no lands, we're not allowed to keep this. This seems very reasonable. And I will bottom Turnabout. Underground Sea. So we do have 4 copies of Dress Down in our deck. That is a card we want to leverage in this matchup. They did not shuffle. So traditionally, Brain Freeze is really good against the Doomsday decks. However, we don't have Brain Freeze in our main deck, so in order to Brain Freeze them, I'd have to Cunning Wish into Brain Freeze, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of how good Brain Freeze is, because it opens you up to counter magic, and Doomsday has a ton of interaction. They play a Polluted Delta. Let's fetch. We'll grab the basic, and play an Opt. We will keep Force of Will. Another reset. All right, play the Misty, pass the turn. They grab a Scrub land. So that means they're probably playing Teferi, Time Raveler, which is a card I cannot beat. And there it is. They're on the Mark Tobias list. And this is really unfortunate for us. Doomsday with main deck hate for the instant speed deck. Ay, ay, ay. I think we just have to exile the Consider. Okay. Impulse was a good find. And a Brainstorm. They cycle a Lorien Revealed for another copy of Underground Sea. They have 5 cards in their hand. Let's cast an Impulse. Dress Down's a card we definitely are interested in, so we'll take that. Another copy of Impulse, okay. The One Ring. I'm going to Impulse in response. We definitely want the Meditate here. And then the One Ring will resolve. They draw a card. We draw the land. They have 7 cards in their hand, and they can draw 2 cards using the One Ring. They play a Ponder. They shuffled pretty quickly, and now they're drawing 2 cards. This looks like it has to be our go window, so I am going to do what I can here. I tied. They're going to Daze. I will pay for the Daze. I tied back on the stack. I will fetch. Grab the Mystic Sanctuary. The question is, what do you put on top? Because it could be Force of Will, but I don't know how much that actually matters here. I think it's just supposed to be an Impulse. And I will cast a Reset. We're going to respond to this and cast a Reset. And it looks like our opponent just had it. So we are not going to win game number 1. This Doomsday itself would have been a really tough matchup, but the Doomsday deck that has main deck Teferi Time Ravelers is just particularly bad for us. So we'll bring in Flusterstorms, and then we want the additional copies of Dress Down. So that's 65 cards. I think you're supposed to side out your copies of Opt, and maybe a Turnabout. I think Turnabout's kind of a pricey card in this particular matchup. It's just, they're a Daze deck with Force of Will, and I don't know. Like, you want a couple, but it's not really a card you can rely on resolving. We're on the play. Nope. We are not allowed to keep this, so we will mulligan. I don't know. I suppose you're not really supposed to mulligan with this deck, so you kind of have to keep hands that function. Pass the turn. They fetch Dark Ritual and Doomsday. That's terrifying. Would have loved to have a Flusterstorm in my hand. They cited an Orcish Bowmasters and Shieldreds. Shieldred makes sense. We'll take a draw. Another land. I think we're probably just dead. Dark Ritual, okay. Cavern of Souls. The name Wizard. The One Ring? Sure. They have 1 force in their or 2 forces. So that means that there's 2 forces in their exile pile. I don't think I'm going to be able to win this. Okay, they have 3 cards left in their deck. In their upkeep, they activate the ring. I'm going to respond. I'm going to cast High Tide. So High Tide has resolved. I can't play Reset, so that, unfortunately, I have to wait. Did our opponent just throw? They have no deck left, and they're still in their upkeep, so now they're going to go to draw step and lose? Oh, wow, looks like we're getting a free game here. I think our opponent messed up. Yep, our opponent messed up. We'll take it. Off to game number 3 that we don't deserve. I mean, double Dress Down is nice, but can I really keep this? I think I'm supposed to send this back. This is much better. Keep, and we'll get rid of Mission Briefing. And a turn 1 Ponder off of Underground Sea. We'll play our Polluted Delta, pass the turn. Another Ponder. They have 6 cards in their hand. We know that they have Veil of Summer in their deck as well. Teferi and Veil of Summer. This is never a matchup you want to face with Solidarity. Unfortunately, we have to bin this Turnabout, so we only have 1 Turnabout left in our deck. Another High Tide. Dark Ritual. Shieldred. That's going to resolve. They have 4 cards in their hand. If we could find a reset, we actually stand a chance of winning. We're just going to play the island and pass. They attack for 4. I'm at 13. Another land. We'll play the Misty Rainforest, pass the turn, and step they Brainstorm. They have 6 cards in hand now. They'll attack with the Shield Dread. This puts me down to 7, and then I'll fetch down to 6. We're going to get the Mystic Sanctuary here to grab the Turnabout. So I have to win on their turn or else I lose the game. Oh wow, we drew a Turnabout. That's so crazy. I'll fetch now down to 3. Because I don't actually have a reset, I'm going to start on their upkeep. They have 6 cards. I'm really nervous about this. They force. I'm going to try another High Tide here. They have 4 cards in their hand. They have 2 cards in their hand now. They had Force, Veil of Summer. So we are dead. Okay. Well, that was a match. We're 1-1 with Solidarity. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Round number 3, we're on the draw, and I'm going to keep. I don't really know what our opponent's playing, but our hand is solid, so we're going to try it out. What this hand is looking for is land number 3 alongside a Meditate. From Mox. This could be the initiative. I hope it's not, but it could be. I mean, Spirit Guide, City of Traders. It's the Turbo Goblins deck, okay. See a 4. Yay, they rolled a 4 into Goblin Ringleader. Okay. Broadside Bombardiers and a Goblin Rabblemaster. They swing for 2, I will go to 18. We're going to need to be fast this game. Skirk Prospector, okay. And a Goblin Rabblemaster. So now they're swinging for 5. Alright, so next turn I'm going to have to dress down just to buy time. And then we're going to have to try to win on the turn after that. Bottom the reset. I can't afford to take that at the moment. Force of Will. I mean, I guess I could have opted earlier, but we just need to find Meditate here. Alright, so they're going to play the Broadside Bombardiers. And I am going to play a dress down. We're looking for land 3 as our top draw here. We missed on the 3rd land. So now they swing, we'll take 8. I can't win if I don't find a 3rd land here. We missed. There's nothing I can do to live here. Alright, so we will concede and go to the next game. Too fast. I don't think we're actually supposed to sideboard at all. You could bring in Echoing Truth, but I think you should just run it back. Game 2, we're on the play this time. Sure, we'll keep. Our opponent has also elected to keep 7. We'll play Mystic Sanctuary and just pass. Basic Mountain into Skirk Prospector. Alright, so now we have 4 lands. We need to find High Tide, Meditate, and a Reset. So we actually need to find quite a bit here. They play an Ancient Tomb, Goblin Matron, that's fine. For some reason, Magic Online is taking a quick second to load the artwork here. They're going to attack with the Skirk Prospector. And then we'll Impulse. Take the Meditate. Another Impulse. We'll just pass the turn here. It might be crazy. I'm just going to let the Namesticker Goblin resolve. They rolled a 5. So now they have 7 mana plus 3 goblins for Skirk Prospector. Battlecry Goblin. That's fine with me. Another Battlecry Goblin. Okay. They pump their team. And now they're going to combat. And they're going to pump their team again. So they're actually swinging for 18 here. So my Scalding Tarn is going to be shut off. Wow. Okay. We will play an Impulse. That was terrible. We'll take the Opt. So the reason I let the Namesticker Goblin resolve is I was like, I can just counter the Muxus, but that ultimately did not happen. It looks like we're not going to be able to win here. Our hands just never came together. We drew 5 lands this time, and our cantrips never really found anything either, so unfortunate. We're now 1-2 with 2 matches left to go. you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. Round number 4, we're on the play, and we're facing an Elves expert. That said, Jack has a pretty wide range and sometimes chooses not to play Elves. And right now there's an unlimited token that it's going to be expired by the time this video goes public, but that means that everyone has access to any card they want for free. And it's due to a moto glitch or whatever, I don't know. But Jack might not be on Elves. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. Once Upon a Time looks a little bit like an elf card to me. Finds a Cloud Post. So not Elves. Okay. We should be able to beat Cloud Post. I believe that in my soul. That said, they do have Eldrazi in their deck. So you need to win with Blue Sun Zenith. We'll keep the land. Definitely a good find here. Force of Will. I will pass. Another copy of Cloud Post. So now their Cloud Post taps for 2 mana. On the end step, I'm going to Brainstorm. We'll put back a pair of Mission Briefing. We'll fetch, grab a basic island, and consider. We'll mill another consider. Second copy of Impulse. Play the Polluted Delta and pass. Exiles Elvish Spirit Guide to play an Elvish Reclaimer. I guess you could say it's still Elves, right? Right? No? Bazooka Bog. You got it. 5 cards in Jack's hand. Cast Impulse. I think it's just the 4th land. We don't really need a dress down. We already have a reset. Another Mission Briefing. I'm going to pass the turn. A Glimmer Post. And step will Impulse again, looking for that High Tide. We did not find it, but we did find a Meditate. I'll take the Meditate. I feel like that's a card I want here. And then I'm going to Mystic Sanctuary back Impulse. Alright, Impulse on top. I'm going to main phase the Impulse in case I miss on the High Tide. I can just take a land. But we did find it. We found the High Tide. We're allowed to party now. Elvish Reclaimer is activated, sacrificing the Bazooka Bog. They find another copy of Cloud Post. Glimmer Post. So now all of those Cloud Posts tap for 5. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Alright, time to party. High Tide. Reset. I'm going to cast Meditate here. 1 blue mana floating. Play an Opt. We don't need a land. That can go on the bottom. Cunning Wish. Turnabout targeting myself. We'll untap our lands. I have 8 total mana here. So if I Mission Briefing into Meditate, I'd have 3 mana available, which means I'd have to find a reset. And I feel like that's a little bit sketchy here. So I'm going to Impulse. We did find a Meditate. Let's Mission Briefing. We'll keep the Turnabout on top. And then reset. We will reset and Meditate. Another High Tide. That was actually pretty good for the home team. Reset again. Mission Briefing. Put both of these on top. And Meditate will be our card. Cast the Meditate. Let's Brainstorm. Put back the land into a Force of Will. We'll now Impulse to clear those cards because we don't want them. We'll take another Cunning Wish. And we should have enough resources here to just win the game. Making a bunch of mana. Turnabout targeting me. Land. Untap. Cast a Cunning Wish. We'll grab a Brain Freeze. Cunning Wish. Grab a Blue Sun Zenith. Cunning Wish. Grab a Turnabout. Turnabout myself. Land. Untap. Target them with Brain Freeze. And we win! Yes! That's more my speed. Big fan of Cloud Post. Alright. Now going into the next game. I don't think Dress Down's a card we really want. And a card I do think we want is, oddly enough, going to be Flusterstorm. So why Flusterstorm? They're a deck that can board in Mindbreak Trap, and Flusterstorm kind of just answers that. I can't help but wonder if maybe we want to swap a Flusterstorm and a Force of Will, since Force of Will uses more resources. And I don't know how many cards we're actually looking to force in this matchup. So I think I'm going to try this out. And if I'm wrong, I can always adjust it for game number 3. We'll try it. I mean, double turnabout is a little bit awkward when I'm stuck on one land, but this hand seems fine enough to me. And there's land number 2. I'm going to be lazy and just opt on my main phase. We'll keep a consider. Another Cloud Post. Okay. Good open. We find a Force of Will. I'll pass. Land number 3, Meditate and High Tide are the cards we want. Carpet of Flowers, that's just rude. Carpet of Flowers will now make double green mana for crop rotation. I'll allow it. Maybe Flusterstorm over the 4th Force of Will was wrong. They just have so much mana. End step, I will Impulse, looking for High Tide. We found it. We also found land and Meditate, so we didn't really want to see that. That was unfortunate for us. Cunning Wish, consider. We'll take the land. Pass the turn. So currently they have 9 mana plus our 3 mana from the Carpet of Flowers, so they have 12 mana total. Well, that changes the equation. They now have enough mana to hardcast Emrakul here. Green Sun Zenith for 6. So this could get a Primeval Titan. I think I'm just going to counter this, exiling the Flusterstorm. Veil of Summer. Sure. I could have tried to win in response, but I don't think that's worth it. They have 3 cards remaining in their hand. Bajukabog and Eye of Ugin. And a hardcast Once Upon a Time. They found the Emrakul. So next turn, it's no matter what, we need to go for it. Draw. Okay. So our plan is to Cunning Wish for like a Blue Sun Zenith. This seems kind of unlikely, but we have to take our chance here. So they'll draw. And now in their main phase, Carpet of Flowers will trigger. We're going to respond to this trigger because currently they don't have any green mana. So they cannot cast a Veil of Summer. And we will reset. Now we'll make some more mana. Cast a Turnabout. We'll untap our lands. Turnabout again. Lands and untap. We'll play a Cunning Wish. And I will grab a Blue Sun Zenith. We need to keep at least 4 mana floating. Because 4 mana would be our last Turnabout, or it would be Mission Briefing into Reset. So we're going to draw 10 cards here. Alright, this is looking reasonable. We'll play a Reset. Cast a Brainstorm. We can put 2 lands on top and then Mission Briefing those away. Cast a High Tide. Tap 3 mana and I will Mission Briefing. They Endurance me. So we can still respond to our own Mission Briefing here. And in response to this, I'm going to Mission Briefing again. Ooh, maybe I punted. I think I was supposed to Impulse first. Yep, I just messed up. We'll Brainstorm. Yeah, I just messed up there. We'll put back 2 lands. We did find the Blue Sun again. How much mana is this? That's enough to Cunning Wish for Turnabout. Yeah, I definitely messed up a little bit there. Target myself. Untap. With that on the stack, I will Impulse. Grab the Meditate. Meditate. And now we'll Mission Briefing. Keep the High Tide on top. Turnabout will be our card. And then we'll Turnabout ourselves. Untap. Cast another Meditate. High Tide. Brainstorm. Put back the 2 lands. Mission Briefing. Clear the 2 lands. And we will Flashback Meditate. Alright, so we're starting to run a little bit low on mana here. I'm going to Impulse. We found a Reset, that's great. Play the Reset. I'll Brainstorm again. Put 2 lands on top. Yes, we found another Mission Briefing, that was perfect. And Jack concedes. I love that for us. Alright, so we are now 2-2 with 1 match left to go. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? We've made it simple to do so by including a button to rent the entire deck at theepicstorm.com/decklist. The final match with Solidarity. We're on the play. We'll try this out. Play Scalding Tarn and pass the turn. Thoughtseize. I am going to force this, exiling the Impulse. Actually, no. Let's exile the Brainstorm. I will then fetch, grab the basic, play Consider. We find an Opt. I'm going to bury the Opt. Cunning Wish wasn't really a draw I wanted here. That's unfortunate. Another Consider. Let's try to find that land. Bummer. Okay, well, one land in the top 25% wasn't ideal, but here we are. Let's just try to make our next land drop and then Impulse. I could have kept the Brainstorm, but I felt like Impulse digging for a Meditate or something similar just was a lot more relevant. We did find the land. We will play it and pass. Looks like they're on Storm. The Bloodstained Mire is a pretty big giveaway. Impulse. I'm going to take the land. You could have taken Mission Briefing for Force of Will tricks, but I kind of just want to do my own thing here. They have land number 4, 6 cards in hand. They're choosing to just pass. We will fetch, grab the basic island, and I will Cunning Wish, and grab a Blue Sun Zenith. Force of Will being the draw was not bad. We'll pass. They play out a Lotus Petal. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. They have 4 cards left in their hand. They activate the Bloodstained Mire. Yeah, this is just the Epic Storm. Burning Wish can resolve. They select Echo of Aeons. A little surprised by that one. I'm going to respond here. High Tide. I'm guessing our opponent has a Veil of Summer. I will now reset. Turnabout targeting myself. Land and untap. Turnabout targeting myself. And now I'm just going to let the Echo resolve. This hand is ready to party now. Thank you for the new draw 7, opponent. They play their land, so this can actually go grab a Taiga. So they have double Veil of Summer open if they have it. We're going to respond to this Lion's Eye Diamond, High Tide. And we'll play an Impulse. We find Meditate, which is a card that I wanted here. We will cast the Meditate. Tap our island for 3 blue, play a Consider. Definitely keeping this Meditate on top of the deck. And we'll draw 4 more cards. Another High Tide. Our island's now tapped for 4. I'll play a Reset. We can Meditate again. Let's Mission Briefing. Let's keep both of these. And then we can Meditate once more. Just love drawing cards. It's what I'm here to do. We'll cast another Meditate. Storm is currently 22. We found another High Tide. We'll play that. Play a Reset. Storm 24. There's still a Blue Sun Zenith somewhere in my library. Let's Consider. Mill the land. We found another land anyway. Let's cast an Impulse. Take the Brainstorm. I just want to be able to convert some of these islands into something useful. We found the Blue Sun Zenith and another Force of Will. We can Impulse. Take another Brainstorm. Cast another Brainstorm. Put back 2 lands. Alright, we should probably try to win the game instead of playing with our food. Let's reset. Turnabout targeting myself. Land, untap. Play a Cunning Wish. Yes. Grab the Brain Freeze. And we will now target our opponent. Storm 33. You know, I was a little bit sad to see that I was beating up on the Epic Storm. And then I saw that our opponent chose this Brainstorm. And now I don't feel bad anymore. They did this to themselves. Alright, our opponent has no library left, but there is an Echo of Aeons in their graveyard. So all we have to do is counterspell that Echo of Aeons, and all 4 copies of Veil of Summer are in the graveyard. I could also just Blue Sun Zenith them right now. Maybe I should do that instead of clicking more. Sweet. Alright, Blue Sun Zenith gets the job done. Now we can head to the post-board games against the Epic Storm. We will bring in Flusterstorm and take out Dress Down. I think you also want Surgical Extraction, which might seem a little bit odd, but it's what I'm going to do here. And we're at 64. I think you just take out Ops. Hit Submit. Sure. Keep. They thought seized me. Not very kind. Not very kind at all. Goodbye, Force of Will. We drew another Meditate. We'll play our island and pass. If we get another turn, Mission Briefing can flashback this Force of Will. Fun fact. You can use the exile clause from graveyard with Force of Will plus mission briefing. Our opponent just passes the turn, doesn't even play a land. Drawing the Polluted Delta means that we have a third island for this Mystic Sanctuary, so I can also just buy back the Force of Will the natural way. Given enough time, of course. Alright, so they play a Chrome Mox, no Imprint, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Storm is 3, they have 4 black mana. They play a Mox Opal, Beseech the Mirror. So I'm going to allow this to resolve, because I'd rather the Guy's Will just be exiled, so that is what I'm choosing to do here. And I can now Mission Briefing and then Force of Will. We'll mill the Consider, keep the Impulse on top, and then Force of Will. Force of Will, the Guy's Will, exiling, reset. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. Play Polluted Delta, pass the turn. We will fetch. I go to 18. And let's meditate. Our opponent gets another turn now. They have 4 cards in hand. They play a Bloodstained Mire. And they're just passing. We'll play Mystic Sanctuary. Put the Meditate on top of our deck. Pass the turn. They have a 3rd land, 3 cards in hand. End step, we'll consider taking the Meditate. And then we'll Impulse, grab another High Tide, Force of Will. Let's Impulse looking for land number 5 now. We missed. I guess I'll take a Flusterstorm. And I'm going to try another look at land number 5 here. There we go. Play the Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. Thoughtseize. I'm going to allow this to resolve. They take my Force of Will. We will fetch. 1 more basic island left in the deck. And I think I'm ready to try to win the game now. They play land number 4. Hard cast Song of Creation. Sure. With this trigger on the stack, I'm now going to kill them. High Tide. High Tide. Let's meditate. Let's meditate again. Turnabout targeting myself. Land untap. We can now brainstorm plus mission briefing to clear the lands, but also give us another meditate. Mission briefing, goodbye spare lands, and meditate. Cast the meditate. Storm is now 10. Let's brainstorm. Put 2 lands back on top. We found 2 more mission briefing. Let's cast 1 of them. Clear those lands. And another meditate, why not? Reset. Cast the meditate. Storm is now 14. Cunning Wish, Storm 15. Yes. Grab the Brain Freeze. Target our opponent. So this will mill them for 48 cards. They only have 43 in their deck. And then the Song of Creation trigger will actually just kill them. We have successfully completed this Solidarity High Tide Legacy Combo League. And we finished with a positive record, 3-2. So what did I think of the deck list? I liked it. 16 lands felt fine to me. Obviously, we had to dig for them in a couple places, but I never really flooded out on lands mid-combo, which was an issue I had playing this deck previously. The matchups we lost. We lost to Doomsday with Teferi and Veil of Summer, which, you know, Doomsday's already an incredibly tough matchup to begin with, and they went and made it more difficult. We were never going to win that. And then we lost to the Turbo Goblins deck, which anything Turbo is likely going to beat the deck that is built to win on turn 4. So I'm not terribly surprised by that. But I liked the deck list. I don't know if I would change a whole lot moving forward. It felt pretty good to me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. But really, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. And as always, keep storming. What you should do is like, comment, and subscribe because there's no better way to support us. And if you enjoyed this video, head over to moxfield.com and follow us there. It's truly the best deck website on the internet. We update all of our decks there regularly with the latest and greatest technology, so you're always up to date. Once again, go check out Moxfield, and thank you for watching.